Yo, what's going on, guys? This is Commerce64. How you guys doing today? And I'm back with another video. And so today's video, I'm going to be talking about Image Comics and should their characters get more exposure like Marvel and DC characters. Now, before I get on with the video, first off, I want to say happy Free Comic Book Day to everybody. I'm going to a comic book shop later, and I'm going to see if I can get some free comic books and such. Yeah, so if you guys love comic books and, a lot of stuff related to comic books, go wild today. It's basically comic book day somewhat. Well, free comic book day, so, well, I'm assuming it's comic book day in general, so. Well, that's just what I think, but, yeah. Yeah, and like, comic books, superheroes, stunts, yeah, go out today. So yeah, now we can get on with the meet and greet of the video. Today I'm going to talk about Image Comics and their characters. Should their characters get more exposure and be out there like Marvel and DC characters? Now, I'm not really huge in Image Comics. I do like some of their characters. I guess I could say I'm maybe a casual fan, but not like a die hardcore fan. Now I do have a few figures, only 2 so far. This is Badrock from Youngblood, and last and finally, one of Spawn's nemesis, the Violator. Yep. I got this guy Badrock from a comic book shop, Kamikaze, which is I'm heading to later. And I got this guy at a Newberry Comics. I'm really a huge fan of the McFarlane Giant figures. This guy and a couple others. There's Clayface in the DC Multiverse line. I want to try to get that guy, and maybe some other Giant figures. Oh, I do want to get the King Kong and Batman double pack figure, and also there's a Superman and Godzilla one coming out soon. I want to get that too as well. So yeah. So those are pretty much the only, I guess, Image Comics figures that I have. This Badrock was released in the Spawn line, and this guy, the old school Spawn line that came out in the 90s, and this guy came out in the McFarlane line, I think in 2010s, late 2010s, early 2020s, or 2020s, I don't know. But overall, yeah, those so far those are the only figures I have. But I don't really have that much Image Comics figures. But now, we can talk about should Image Comics and their characters, all their characters, get more exposure like characters from Marvel and DC. You know how Marvel characters and DC characters have had many TV shows, have appeared in movies and such, and be out there in the media because we see a lot of Marvel figures, a lot of DC figures. And should Image Comics and their characters do the same, be up there with those two? Because I've heard that Image Comics is the 3rd biggest, largest comic book company next to Marvel and DC. So I was beginning to think is Image Comics just as popular as Marvel as DC, and are their characters extremely popular out there in the world? I mean, sure, diehard comic fans probably know all these characters and probably a fan of these characters, but the casual fans, we don't know. I'm pretty sure casual fans are probably the only characters I probably are familiar with are probably Invincible and maybe I guess Spawn too. Because Spawn was huge back in the 90s. Spawn was pretty much everywhere. So, but I was always wondering what if Image Comics and their characters do get more exposure like Marvel and DC characters, because Marvel and DC characters, all the characters have many TV shows over the years. Spider-Man has a lot of TV shows. Batman has had a lot of TV shows. The X-Men, Superman, Fantastic Four, Iron Man, the Hulk, Green Lantern, Static Shock, Teen Titans, and a couple others. Most in Image Comics so far, their characters, only a few of their characters have had TV shows. I mean, Spawn had a TV show. Savage Dragon had a TV show. Wildcats, I think, and apparently Youngblood was really supposed to get one, but unfortunately that got canceled. And I think the Max got one too. I'm not sure. And of course, well, Invincible also has one as well. You know, but the Invincible animated series got released like years later. So and like in terms of TV shows, that's that right there. Image Comics doesn't have that much in terms of TV shows. Now in terms of live action movies, Marvel and DC has been all over the place with those. Mostly Marvel. We basically see more Marvel movies than DC movies. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's how I look at it. I think so. I think we have more Marvel movies than DC movies. At least that's what I look at. And Image Comics, they have not really done movies at all. I mean, the only character of theirs that they do have that has a little live action movie is Spawn, basically, released back in 1987, and it didn't do too well. I don't know if it was a hit at the box office, but it didn't get good reviews. So, think of that as you will. But that was pretty much the only live action movie based on the Image Comics character. Now I know it's said that Image Comics doesn't really own the rights to almost all the characters, unlike with Marvel and DC, where they have they have full control and full ownership of all these characters, even some that they didn't create. But Image Comics doesn't fully own all the characters because each of the creators own the characters, and I think they distribute these characters through Image Comics and such. So yeah, it is a. So Image Comics is totally different from Marvel and DC, as where they don't completely own the characters. I guess maybe this is probably. I think this is maybe probably the same thing with Valiant Comics and Dark Horse, like Dark Horse. Well, no, I do think Dark Horse fully does own Hellboy, and Valiant Comics does own like some of their characters. They made like Bloodshot. I think that's the name. Ninja Mask Jazz or whatever, or that character with the ex Omaze. I can't pronounce his name well. He was in a video game with Iron Man that came out in the 90s. So yeah, and so I think Valiant Comics and Dark Horse, I don't know if they fully own their characters or they just share, or the creators just own the characters and just distribute their characters through the companies and let the characters use their characters once in a while for like meetup purposes and stuff like that. So Image Comics, I guess Image Comics, their characters getting more exposure. It could happen, but it does seem a bit tricky because there's like the owners, unless the Image Comics were to fully buy the rights to all these characters and claim them as their own, which I think they probably could do that, but I'm not sure. But anything's possible. Now another thing that I think probably will be cool to see is what if Image Comics, and let's say if they end up owning all the characters. Well, I know there's some of the characters they don't have anymore. Wildcats was sold to DC, and I think what's her name, Angel or whatever her name is, that this female character was sold to Marvel. So I can't forget her name, man. Her name just escapes me. Angela something like that. Yeah, so Image Comics doesn't particularly seem to own most of their characters anymore, from what I heard. No, DC has some characters that they own, but they never created, like Shazam and Static Shock. And I think that's the same thing with Marvel. Marvel has some characters that they didn't create. So Image Comics, they probably don't seem to have that much as characters as Marvel and DC, because Marvel and DC, I think mostly Marvel, have like a huge cast of characters and almost I think an endless amount of characters. Okay, sure, some of those Marvel characters are probably characters that they never owned, never created, but Now they own those characters, and now those characters are pretty much a part of the library. Kind of like with Nickelodeon Ninja Turtles. You know, Nickelodeon didn't create Ninja Turtles, but they bought the rights to Ninja Turtles, and now Ninja Turtles are essentially part of Nickelodeon. Yeah, because Ninja Turtles wasn't like SpongeBob, Hey Arnold, Cat Dog, Fairy Odd Parents, The Loud House, My Life as a Teenage Robot, Ren and Stimpy, The Wild Thornberrys, Rugrats, All Road Monsters, Rocket Power, and them, where they were already a part of Nickelodeon from the beginning, and and Ninja Turtles was just made by a separate company. But now Nickelodeon or Viacom fully owns Ninja Turtles, so yeah. Well, Viacom owns Nickelodeon, so maybe Viacom just brought the rights to Ninja Turtles. And heck, that's the same thing with Garfield. So yeah, so in Image Comics, they probably don't like. So they don't seem to have that much amount of characters compared to Marvel and DC. But I do think maybe they still have a sizable cast of characters enough. Now, what if Image Comics were to have like their own live action cinematic universe? And if they do get their own live action cinematic universe, which company should basically they work with, or like maybe own them? I'm not saying that this company should own Image Comics, or maybe just do like some kind of partnership with them to make movies and stuff like that. I think there'll be one company I think that would be cool to see Image Comics do a collab with, if they want to make their own cinematic universe, like a studio publisher or producer or something like that. And that company is Universal. Now, why I say Universal? Well, because here's the thing. I think Universal is kind of similar to Disney and Warner Brothers, because Disney and Warner Brothers, they both own a popular comic book company that has like a huge cast of characters, of superheroes and such like that, comic book characters and such, and they make movies with those characters. And so Disney owns Marvel, and Warner Bros. Owns DC, or Warner Bros. Discovery, as it's probably called now. And also, both of those companies have a cartoon character that's basically their official mascot, and that's widely popular all over the world. Disney has Mickey Mouse, and Warner Bros. Discovery has Bugs Bunny. And who does Universal have? Universal basically has Woody Woodpecker. I think Woody Woodpecker is probably up there with Mickey Mouse and Bugs Bunny as highly popular. Well, Woody Woodpecker, we will see him at meet and greets at Universal store, Universal stores, like theme parks. So I do think he's widely popular, and he's another cartoon character that's been around for a long time, just as much as Mickey and Bugs have been. So yeah, so I do think if the Universal were to team up with Image Comics, or maybe buy the rights to Image Comics and make a cinematic universe, live action cinematic universe with their characters, that'd probably be tight. Disney has Marvel, Warner Bros. Discovery has DC, and Universal has Image Comics. That's just something I think that would be probably cool to see. Because imagine if we got a third popular comic book company that has a huge cast of characters that can be up there with both Marvel and DC. Imagine if we can have a awesome comic book company trio right there. That this is our superheroes, comic books, TV shows with their characters, movies with their characters, live action movies, a cinematic universe, and have their characters be well known all throughout the world. Because Spider-Man and Batman are pretty much icons all over the world. Everyone knows who they are, and everybody loves them, even Superman. But Spawn, I don't know which Spawn is really out there. I mean, sure, he probably was huge back in the 90s, but I don't know if he was widely popular. He probably was. I mean, I think now Invincible is probably more popular and more widely well known than Spawn is. And speaking of Spawn, there was gonna be a live action Spawn movie, but I think that's probably in development hell, and we're probably never gonna see that one come out unless. Hey. But hey, what do you guys think about Universal? What if Universal owned Image Comics and did movies with this sort of stuff with their characters. You know, produce TV shows, movies, and stuff like that. A live action cinematic universe with Image Comics and their characters. I mean, that's what I think. I mean, because I see Universal does have some similarities with Warner Brothers and Disney. I don't know how many series that Universal has under their belt. I know Marvel. I mean, I know Disney and Warner Brothers do. You know, Disney has, aside from Marvel, Disney has Star Wars, Indiana Jones, I think, and many others. Well, Warner Brothers Discovery has Harry Potter, Game of Thrones, Cartoon Network, Hanna-Barbera, the Looney Tunes, and a whole bunch of other stuff. And Universal, well, I think they have Illumination. Oh, I also forgot Disney also has Pixar. Now Universal, they have Illumination, and I forgot what else. Well, Universal, they were going to do their own cinematic universe, like with Universal Monsters, but unfortunately, that universe kind of died and didn't go anywhere. But I do think an Image Comics cinematic universe, if they were to do an Image Comics cinematic universe, whether they buy the rights to Image Comics and try to use most of the characters, or they do a partnership with Image Comics to make movies with their characters to create a cinematic universe, that would be tight to see. I do think so. But imagine an Ultimate Universe where Image Comics does have a lot of characters that they created and they own, and they'd be up there with Marvel and DC as the big three of superheroes, comic books, and all that stuff. Movies, TV shows, cinematic universe, and all that jazz. What do you think? And and what if Universal owned them, bought the rights to them, and basically did stuff with them? Because it'd be cool to see. Because Disney, Warner Bros. Discovery, and Universal, they each have a comic book company that has very popular and established characters. They both have a popular cartoon character. That's pretty much their mascot. I think Woody Woodpecker is the company of Universal. Is the mascot of Universal. I think. I could be wrong, but you can let me know. And they have other franchises under their belt, but like Marvel, DC, and Image Comics will be like the top two popular ones. So yeah. So let me know what you think. Do you guys think that Image Comics and their characters should get more exposure, like characters from Marvel and DC? You can feel free to let me know in the comment section below. So happy Comic Book Day, everyone. I'm heading over to the comic book shop later on today. I'm gonna get myself some free comic books. So I hope you guys liked this video. Take care. This is Commerce64. Sign out and peace out, guys. You go, Image. Later.